Hey guys, it's SJ, very happy baby name Monday. Today's list is actually 100 new boho names that are really setting new trends for parents that are having a baby now, 2022, 2023. You need to know the new names on the block, and I have scoured so many inspiration places for a load of new names that hopefully are really, really unique to you. They've all got a kind of boho arty feel because that is the top kind of theme that people really, really love, and it's very enduring. It never kind of goes out of style, so if you want to go a bit more unique, finding a trend that is kind of an everlasting one is a really good way to do that. So bohemian kind of is, and it's my favourite, it's so many of our community's favourite as well. So do hit subscribe to get the full 100 names, because I'm doing this in 2 parts, because the one parter, this is the third time I've tried to film it. It goes on for too long, so there's 2 parts. So hit subscribe and the little bell, and then you'll get alerted when part 2, which is the girl version of this, goes live. So let's go through these super stylish boy names that really are setting new trends. So the first one I've done is Vesper. So Vesper's a really interesting name. It really fits into the kind of constellation star trend that we've seen, but is brand new on the block, really unique and low down, not ranked name, and it means evening star, which I think makes it really, really beautiful. Fits into that kind of nighttime theme as well. The name Devereaux is a really interesting one. It uses the X, which has always had a lot of appeal, particularly for boy names being quite a strong symbol, high Scrabble letter as we call it in the naming world, and I love the fact that it means riverbank. I also think it hits into the sort of surname as first name trend as well, and there's so many options you could do for nicknames. Let me know in the comments below what you would nickname a little Devereaux. Emrys is a really lovely name. It is Welsh. Welsh names are gorgeous, and I'm putting Emrys on a lot of my name list for consultancies that I'm doing at the moment, or the consultancies you can listen to on a podcast, Baby Name Envy, if you're interested in real life dilemmas. It means immortal, so I think what's nice about Emrys is it's got the gentle sound, but it's got the really strong meaning, which is really, really cool. Jericho is a name that if you listen to the podcast you'll know that we're a bit obsessed with. Jericho, it means city of the moon, and it's such a cool name. I actually think that I'm getting on board with kind of Coco being a boy nickname. What do you reckon? It could be really trendy, and I just really love Jericho. Again, this kind of constellation and this kind of place travel-y type of feeling with city of the moon just makes it really bang on trend. Beaumont is a really everlasting, cool boho name, particularly because so many of you have Beau on your name list but aren't sure, or it's been pinched. So I always recommend Beaumont to those types of parents, because you've got the nickname Beau, but you've also got the nickname Monty, and then this meaning of beautiful mountain, which takes it into a really gorgeous nature feel. Pax, meaning peace, is a really lovely name. Again, short and sweet, 1 syllable, and using the X. And then a name I'm crashing on again, it's come back into style, is Foxley, which means like a clearing near a fox dwelling. I'm really getting into Fox as a boy name again. It kind of was trendy, I'd say about 5 years ago, and it's kind of getting a lot of chatter again. It sort of dipped a little bit, but Foxley is a way of making it really long, and can also be, of course, an alternative to a Finley if you're thinking, oh, is it edgy enough if I want to go a bit more unique. The name Alto, really gorgeous, really unique spelling because it's Scandinavian, and I think that that's really makes it special. It means wave as well, alto, so it's really nice, and of course has the musical with the singing. You can sing as an alto as well, so it's got loads going for it, and I just think it looks so cool and a really great alternative to an Otto or something like that, or a Theo. So many names that end in O that we absolutely love. I'm obsessed with the name Ripley at the moment. I think it is so trendy, hits so many trends, but is sort of beyond them in a way. Ripley, it means clearing in a woods. Anything with the L-E-Y ending normally means like a clearing, and it was used to really define where you would find a certain tribe, which then became their surname. So Ripley is a place name as well. I feel a lot of Ripleys around the place, but I just think it works so well as a little dude name. The next name is June, spelled like this, like a sand dune. And again, this has been on a couple of my nature lists recently, and I think it is such a trendy one that we should start using. And then Heath. So heath, again, being an outdoor wilderness type of a name, which is a gorgeous trend that we're seeing really emerging over baby names. And heath, I think, is one of those underlooked ones where you want something that feels boyish, wearable, and kind of, you know, everyone knows how to say it, how to spell it, but it's totally unique, as in it's low down in the charts. The name Thatcher is a really interesting one that I really like, because it means it's very cottagecore. If you saw that trend last year, Thatcher, so somebody who thatches roofs. So it's got so much character, that name. It's got a vintage vibe, but in a super modern way, and occupational names, but to the next level, because occupational names, you know, like sawyer for cutting wood, or any of those types of words have gone from my head, are really popular. And Thatcher's a brand new one. Fletcher, which means to somebody who made a bow and arrow, could be an alternative as well. I'm obsessed with the name Rasmus. Such a cool name, totally unranked in the UK, but it's used around Scandinavia a little bit, and it means beloved. So like Erasmus was the god, so just Rasmus by itself meaning beloved. I think it's got such a cool vibe to it, similar to Axel, which is one of the most popularly rising names. I think was the #1 or #2 fastest rising boy name of last year. What do you think about the name Charlton? It's a cool one, isn't it? Again, really different, and with Charlie being such a popular nickname still, and you might want to go with something a little bit different for a longer form. And Charlton is starting to get a bit of chatter on name forums. I really like it. It means free settlement. So again, it's got that kind of boho vibe of freedom, which I really like. It's got kind of Franklin vibes, but Charlton, bit different. So worth a second glance. I think you get lots of compliments on a Charlton. Eves is a really interesting name. I love it. I love the way it's spelled with the Y. I just think that with Eve being such a popular girl name, Eva, Avon, all of those, I just think it's so underlooked. Eves could even be a super trendy middle spot for a girl, alternative to just Eve. Yeah, that's a really good idea. So like Evelina Eves, that's too much Eves, that's my daughter's name. A Charlotte Eves, for example, just suddenly really elevates it. It's got Ivy vibes, hasn't it? But for boys as well, if you love those types of sounds for girls and you want something for a little baby boy that you're having that sounds similar, Eves is really cool. Dayton, so cool. A lot of these are sort of place names, because that is a trend that's really coming up, like habit names, habitat names. Dayton, I really like it, and it's got beautiful meaning because it means a bright and sunny town. Isn't that cool? Peregrine is a really trendy name because it fits in with the animal or wild nature trend that we've seen over the little last while with things like fox and wolf and all those, but it also means traveller. Peregrine, so it's got a really trendy meaning to it as well. I think would appeal to so many free-spirited people. Kelby, such an unusual name, never hear it anywhere, and I think it's really sweet. Would make beautiful siblings to things like Noah or some of the more popular names, and Kelby really works. It means dweller at the farm by the stream, so a really beautiful meaning. Phineas. So Phineas never really leapt out into the charts as much as we thought it might after The Greatest Showman. It was used by a few celebrities who have babies called Phineas, but again with the popularity of Finn, I have a little boy called Finn, love it, so it boomed after I chose it, which was annoying, but Phineas I think is still really dead trendy, and maybe The Greatest Showman thing's kind of gone away enough for you to kind of use it. It means bronze coloured one, so I also think it's got kind of a trendy meaning as well. Oleander, I really love as an alternative to Oliver, and it means evergreen tree, oleander. So I think that's really trend-setting rather than following along with something like an Oliver. Rollo, again with this O sound, taking it somewhere different, means famous in the land, and I've seen Ralph really rise up as well, and Rafe and things like that, and I think Rollo is a really interesting and different name if we're looking for something really unique and that's ahead of the trends. Albion, what do you think of that? Because Albie is so popular, it's on so many name lists. I recommend it a lot to people who are after something kind of like a cute nickname that's not like a Theo. Then we can kind of bounce to an Albie, or have an Albert who goes by Bertie or Albie. But I actually really like Albion, and it means white cliffs. So a really interesting name, isn't it? A little bit different, but I like the O at the end. It feels really rounded to me. Cosmo, love this name at the moment. I think it's become really much more wearable. I like that it means order and beauty. I think that that really appeals too. I just love that because we see so much kind of order in nature, and a lot of people really, I think that would appeal to somebody who's really into minimalism and stuff like that, beauty and order. But I just think it's such a cool name, obviously from the cosmos, so much history behind it, and really sounds beautiful. I don't think you'd go off it. Hemsley is an interesting name meaning island. So with Isla being so popular, I was thinking, oh, what would you go with for boys? And then I found this name Hemsley, and I really like it. I like the lee ending on it, but I like the S in the middle. Hemsley just sounds really cool. Now the next one you can pronounce two different ways. You can say Dante or Dante. I prefer Dante, but I know lots of babies who go by Dante, or not lots, one. Italian name meaning enduring and steadfast, and I think it's got that kind of fallen idol appeal to it from Dante's Inferno as well. What do you think about the name Falcon as a name? So Falcon's really interesting one. Again, it fits in like a bit like peregrine with this wild nature trend, but really fashion forward a little bit with Falcon. I think you would have to be quite a brave namer to go with it, but some of you might, and it again might make a really offbeat middle spot if you're looking for something a bit different. So say you had a Barnaby Falcon, for instance, or a Theodore Falcon, for instance. Something that's a little bit offbeat in the middle can sometimes be really quirky and fun. Keat is a really interesting name. I love names that end in S at the moment. For doing a one syllable, try adding an S at the end. It makes a lot of things sound really complete and lovely. And Keat being the poet, some people say that it means it was an outhouse, kind of an outhouse where you would store animals, was a keat back in Anglo-Saxon times, which makes me really like it as well. But I think it's a really interesting one-syllable name. Herbie is one that's been around the block for a while, but still hasn't reached popularity peaks. So if you're after something a little bit more unique, you could go with Herbie. It fits into the IE ending trend, but it transcends it, is a bit different. Ellsworth is an interesting name. It's an English, old English name, which means a great man's house. So a great big house would have been Ellsworth. And I think it's really interesting because a long time I loved the name Ellison or Edison, and I think Ellsworth really fits in with that. And a lot of you really like the EL sounds in little boys' names, like Ellis has become really popular. So Ellsworth just takes it a little bit further if we're looking for something a bit fashion forward. Hollis, which means holly tree, really nice, love the S ending. Kenzo is actually a Japanese name, which means strong and healthy, again ending in that O, which is really trendy. Unusual one is the name Avis, which means bird. So here we have a car rental name. There's so many that brand names are kind of ruin great names, but Avis is a car brand name here, rental, but you might not be from the UK, or that might not bother you. Avis, which means bird, so it's a shorter form of Mavis, which is a type of bird. Dion, loving this name at the moment. I think it's so trendy, 2 syllables, strong for a boy. Dion was the god of wine, which is quite fun, which I really like. Bayou is a really lovely name. I prefer it Bayou, but you actually pronounce it Bayou traditionally, but you could do whatever with it. It's such a unique name, and it means small stream, which is really lovely. Valentine is actually an old Latin name that kind of got forgotten as well, and if you want to kind of be a little bit trendier, a bit more unique, you go with Valentine for your boy, and it's got this lovely meaning of it meaning health and strength, like valor does. So see if you could get anyone on board with Valentine. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's Day baby to use it. Calais is an interesting one. It's a bit hard to say because we would sometimes not say the E at the end in English. We maybe say kale, which would be totally different, but Calais is a really interesting name. It's Germanic, which means freedom again. Are we ready for Earl? Are we ready for it? Not sure if it's a vintage step too far. Earl actually means friend of the sea. So I thought it was really cool and could be a really cool offbeat vintage choice for so many of you. Robinson as a surname as first name hasn't come up yet, but Robin is actually kind of trending a lot because it's a brilliant gender neutral name for boy or girl, so we're seeing it rise up the charts, and I quite like the idea of Robinson. I like Anderson and all those as well. I love the names ending in son because you can be sunny. Francis, vintage gold or vintage old? You let me know in the comments below. I'm getting into it, and again it means liberated, and that's kind of a theme that I'm really enjoying for this list, was kind of names that meant freedom or outdoorsy names like that, because I think that with our little boys we love that, and our girls, that spirited outdoorsiness. And Francis is an interesting one. Woodrow, meaning a row of houses by the woods. Love it if you love woody. Davis, again, this is just that idea of adding the S on the end, making everything a lot more elevated, which means beloved. Zephia, love this name, talked about it a little bit, but not loads, and it means gentle breeze. And I think whenever I mention it, a lot of people love it and say that they're going to list it, but it's still really, really ranked low down the chart. Zephia, such a cool one, be a great sister for brother for Stormy. Don't know if Kylie ever announced her baby name. Darwin, real crush of mine. It means dear friend. I really like it. And obviously there's Charles Darwin. This is a bit of a regret for me because I should have used it. It was a hall where I met my husband was called Darwin, and I'm like, should have thought of it. Sparrow, again, a bird name, but one that's a little bit, it was used by Nicole Richie. She had Sparrow Midnight. I always loved it. I don't know if you'd be brave enough to use it. Willard is a really interesting name. If you like William, or you like the nickname Will, which I do, but you're not sure about just William, you can go with Willard. It's a really interesting name. It means resolutely brave, and it's actually a very old vintage name. So we're going further back than William. Hasn't stood the test of time as much as William as being such a popular name throughout time, timeless, but Willard is really interesting. I think gives you a bit more Willow vibes, Willard, but it's got that sort of masculine ending if that's what you're after. 3 more. I have Rain because I love it at the moment, R-E-I-G-N. I think it hits so many trends and is really wearable. It's sort of leapt forward in terms of it being quite an out there name to one that's really wearable. Shiloh, meaning peace, one I absolutely love as well and think works so well for a boy. It's gender neutral, could use it for either. And last one, really interesting because it's a similar name to Eve's, is the name Ivo. So I really like it, Ivo, and it's out there. I keep hearing it. It's one of those that keeps popping up on different things that I'm listening to. So I was like, is this name going to trend soon? Ivo, it's such an interesting one. It means taken from yew tree, an archer. So it's another occupational one because the yew tree was often used for making bow and arrows. Ivo, so it's got really hipster vibes. I think it's my favourite on the list, so I've left it till last. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a bit faster than my normal videos where I give loads of meanings and statistics, but it was more of a name dump than anything. And come back for the girl version, which will be up next. Just hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and the little bell will make sure that it pops up on your inbox when you log on to YouTube next. If you're desperate for more baby name, do listen to the podcast, which is a consultancy. You can also join the baby name consultancy now on the Peanut app, which is brand new, open forum. You can ask questions and get answers. And Baby Name Envy Instagram as well. You can run anonymous polls on 2 names you love and help people decide on names. There's so much going on. You need all this, I'm sure, to help you name your baby. Lots of love, guys. Bye.